It's Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the video game that was self-censored by Nintendo. Or was it Atlas? Or was it Atlas? Or was it Nintendo? Who cares? It's the video game that dumb outrage mascots on the internet comment sections don't want you to play because it's pandering to the worst boogeymen of all, feminazis and SJWs. And these commenters are the wokest of the woke, aware that Nintendo wants to parent us as consumers, ignoring completely that it's a corporate product made by a major game studio and published by a major game company, therefore decisions are driven by money. It's Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the video game that other dumb outrage mascots on the internet think isn't being censored. It's just localization. It's fine. And if you want your game to be in parity with the original vision of the game, these folks say you're just a dumb bearded white guy who only likes anime titties, thus you have no valid opinion. Tokyo Mirage Sessions! It's the game that inspires tons of cheap clickbait articles from a bunch of shitty journalists who have no idea on how to inform their reader base, despite censorship being decisions made by the companies who made it, and changes not affecting the story. The censorship in this game is a lot of things to a lot of people who probably didn't care about the game in the first place. Outrage mascots!
So guess what we're going to be talking about today?
Good job, everybody, for belittling each other and not discussing the actual issue in hand. Thanks for making the world an embarrassing nightmare, everyone.
This is going to be a fun episode.
Hello, my pop stars and mirages. Oh shit, I just knocked something over. Friends, thank you for joining us today on the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 50. If you thought that we've had weird episodes before, boy, this is the weirdest one yet. I am your host, Oni Dino, and with me I have an intern working at Fortuna Entertainment who's always screwing up, Galen.
Hey, I'm very glad for this opportunity to be here, and yeah. Please, can I use you as a reference for later use? I don't know, I've never actually been an intern at a place.
Do you really want me to be on your reference thing?
Yeah, point taken.
They're gonna call me up, and then they're gonna be like, would you hire this person again? And be like, I would if he hadn't burned the place down. And they're gonna be like, can you elaborate on that? No. I want you to make up the story in your imagination.
Would you hire this person again? You're assuming that I hired him to begin with.
He just showed up.
That is kind of
He wouldn't leave. He wouldn't stop sexually harassing the pop stars.
What?
He was in love with Mamori. Mamori-chan,
who
was singing, she was singing all of the Enka songs. We were trying to push her to be a pop star, but then she wouldn't be because she wasn't selling. But then her TV show ended up being really successful, Microwaving with Mamori.
And I'm officially lost.
That's why you gotta play Tokyo Mirage Sessions. It's a fun game.
Yeah, alright.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is pure Oni Dino mode today. I hope you have a nice time listening to this stuff. What are we talking about in this episode? We're going to be talking about some more Tokyo Mirage Sessions, of course. Right, Galen?
Absolutely.
We're going to be talking about some Pokemons. We're going to lighten it up with some Pokemons. Lighten it up with some heavy, chunky Pokemon.
All of the thick Pokemons.
Mm-hmm. With 3 C's.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to get even further into the craziness that is the Blizzard, Activision-Blizzard, that's the way, controversy, and Overwatch just launched on the Switch, all that stuff. Boy, is this going to be a weird one.
Because there wasn't enough controversy to have to try to sort through this week.
This is the episode about the controversy. This is everything is all of that. Boy, oh boy.
Oddly enough, the only thing that does not have any controversy about it is Pokemon this week.
Yeah, in a strange twist of fate, huh? But before we get into any of that, I have to tell you about some video games I've been playing. Actually, I'm just going to tell you about one video game I've been playing. It's really great, so I can't wait to share it with you. Before we jump into our adventure log, wanted to remind everybody we are a weekly show. This is our 50th episode. Episodes go live every Sunday, bright and early if you're in the States. We're on all the podcast platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, what the hell's the other one? Podtail, Pocket Cast, Google Podcast, you name it, we're there.
Mm-hmm. And if we're not there, let us know, and we'll try to get it on that.
Yeah. Also, it's our 50th episode. Give us a birthday present in the form of leaving us a review on your podcast listening deal of choice.
Our birthday's not for another 2-3 weeks, just so you know.
Whatever. 50. I'm 50. And so iTunes is overwhelmingly the podcast platform that people seem to listen to us on. Thank you very much. So please leave us especially an iTunes review. That would really be wonderful. Also, I recently found out that iTunes reviews have different collections depending on the region or country that you're in. So if you go to the US iTunes store, it has, X number of reviews, but then if you go to the British iTunes store, then there's only this many reviews and that kind of thing for every single country in the world that iTunes is on.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Inconvenient is what I would say. Different I word. So I'm going to try and figure out a thing to do so that way I can bring all those together somehow, so that way I can read all your lovely reviews as opposed to going through 100 and something crazy countries. I shouldn't say crazy. And then reading all the reviews and all the nice stuff that you people write. We love you. I'll always be your virtual friend. What is this tone in my voice this week? I
don't know. This is weird.
This is just pure shit. That's what it is. So let me tell you about this game. Adventure Log.
Yeah. Let's go into our adventure log.
Galen desperately trying to save the show.
Yeah, you want me to host this one this week, or?
Oh, do you really want it to go down in flames? You barely showed up this week. I don't think that you should be offering to.
Yeah, this week has been just this weekend. Yesterday in general was super crazy for me. So
ask him about it on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter at true_Mobius.
That's not the Twitter.
Well, I can't remember because your branding's not on point.
It definitely is not, but we'll get to that later. Oni, tell me about this game you've been playing.
I'm very excited about this game. Let's get a giddy up in my step here. I've been playing the Alliance Alive HD on the Nintendo Switch. Do you know about this game, Galen? Do you know what this game is?
No, I haven't heard about it. Tell me about it.
Alrighty. So, this is a game that came out originally on the Nintendo 3DS, and it came out in the latter stages of the 3DS life, especially in the West. It came out, I want to say, after the Switch was announced, or even possibly after the Switch came out. So that's when the 3DS sales took a nosedive, because everybody wanted stuff on their Switch.
Wait, isn't this the one that we mentioned on a couple episodes ago?
Yes.
It was somebody writing in, or we had a guest who was talking about it?
Absolutely. I think it was maybe Jay that wrote into us about this. I think another person did write into us about this game, or about 3DS games in general. We've mentioned the Alliance Alive a lot on the show.
Okay. I remember what you're talking about now.
Yeah. It was a game that I bought at launch for the 3DS, and I was super excited to play it, but just didn't turn it on. Just because that's my life. And so I was like, whatever. So I got it on the Switch, and I couldn't be more happy with my decision to get it on the Switch. This game despite being, its humble 3DS beginnings, so it's got a chibi style in terms of like graphics, it's using fewer polygons and whatnot. This game has incredibly strong visual design. It has a lot of like light line work, especially in the HD version. I'm talking about the HD version on Switch here. It has a lot of light line work on the characters. It really sticks out in my mind just because I'm really noticing the art, but I think it's actually a very subtle addition that they've done to the HD version, where it's something that like I don't think that we see too often in video games, to be honest. It does a great two birds one stone thing where it highlights the characters, in a visual sense, but it also adds a bit of a visual style and artistic direction to it that you just kind of don't see. Speaking of the visual design, there's lots of like somber colors because the story so far, and I've only played, the first couple of chapters, kind of the opening of the game, is a very somber story. So there's lots of purples, muted greens, blues. It definitely puts you in a mood when you're playing it. It's striking. One of the things that I super love about this game is that the camera pulls out when you're in towns, just like in Bravely Default, where if you just stand there for a couple of seconds, it pulls back and it shows you this wonderful like watercolor vision of the entire town, and it's just so breathtaking to take all in. It's like, gosh, this was a 3DS game. So it looks gorgeous on the Switch being in HD. I've been playing this primarily handheld.
Really cool. Yeah, and I remember like the character designs also was very reminiscent of Bravely Default as well. It had with a chibi aesthetic.
The sound design in the game also kind of took me by surprise. There's a lot of ambient sound design. Like when you go into battles too, the sound is not interrupted and then it turns into battle music or anything like that, at least thus far in the game. It's an interesting stylistic choice. So part of the story, which I'll get into in just a moment, is that it's raining constantly, like never-ending rain. And so there's this great rain sound effect when you're outside that feels kind of depressing. There's these oppressive rain sounds hitting the building when you're inside of a building. It genuinely feels like it's beating down on the structure. I'm not so sure how good this sounded on the 3DS, but on the Switch it sounds awesome, especially with headphones in. It's just something you don't really hear much in RPGs like this that have, sort of a humble visual structure to it.
Yeah, it's one of the little details that really kind of get you immersed into it.
Yeah. And like the people are depressed. Like it's just a somber game from the get-go. The opening is so strong in the first two chapters. I don't really want to spoil anything, even though it's just the first two chapters. And it like seriously, after this second chapter, the opening happens. Like it's like the Alliance alive, and sort of credits kind of roll kind of thing. The opening credits, and I was like, damn, we're doing this. Awesome. It was very, very strong. But anyway, so here's the synopsis of the story. The story follows a group of characters fighting a rebellion against demons or daemons that have ruled over humans since the blotting out of the sun a millennium before. Yeah. The story is written by the same guy that did the story for the Suikoden series, so you know that this shit is going to be strong. It is my most exciting aspect, the aspect for which I am most excited. There we go. And there's, humans that are being like oppressed, and I don't know, I don't want to say that they're like slaves or anything like that, but they, they're living under the thumb of the daemons. And then there's, in addition to humans, there are beast folk as well that, gosh, I don't know, they seem to be employed by daemons, because in the town that you start off in, there's some beast folk hanging out at a bar, and they're kind of giving you crap because you're a human and you're talking to them. And they mention how the beast folk provide jobs for the humans, and the humans pay taxes so that way the beast folk can like eat and drink for free because of what they do. It's really interesting, and I've only gotten little tidbits just because I've barely started to play, but it's so intriguing. The story is so intriguing so far. It's not just like we've got swords and we've got magic and we gotta go fight the guy because he's a really bad guy, and like, oh, what's going on with the king and he's acting weird these days, oh my god, he's possessed, or whatever the hell. It's genuinely got an interesting story to it.
Really cool. And I just think the entire concept of starting off in a place of like the sun has been blotted out. That's usually in an RPG setting. That's something that you would go and be actively trying to stop, and that is the adventure itself. So it's kind of interesting to see that the villains have won, and now we're in the aftermath, and it's living throughout that. That's a very interesting take that I don't feel a lot of games actually explores. So
yeah. So I'm super excited to keep going with this game because the story is what's really driving me. In terms of like the battle system, it's very much a turn-based JRPG. I don't want to say it's system heavy, it's just like system dense. Everything seems to be easy to understand, it's just that there's a lot of it. Some things are vague so far, but it's still the very beginning of the game, so it's fine. Like, for example, that's not really an example, but like about, one or two aspects, I just have like one question. And I don't have the answer yet, but, I'll figure it out as the game progresses. On that note, there is like a heavy emphasis on the guidebook, which is kind of like, your tutorial kind of thing that you can pull up at any point, but it's actually genuinely useful and it's written really well as well. You can basically Alt-Tab to access this guidebook from most menus. It's got a dedicated button press with like, what is this called on the Switch? R3, clicking in the right stick?
Yes.
Is there a freaking thing for that on the Switch? Like, I know on the PlayStation it's called R3.
I think R3 is the best way to, like, call it,
Yeah.
Most people understand what you're saying when you say that.
Okay, good. So there's a lot of emphasis on that, and it's very useful. It's not just like a throwaway tutorial for the babies or whatever that play the games that don't know how to play the games good.
Mm-hmm.
What am I saying? Anyway, there's a whole bunch of like really interesting mechanics that are slightly different than the stuff that you know about. So like, for example, your health restores at the end of every battle. Going back to the battle system, you also, like, as you're fighting, you suddenly will have like these things called awakenings where you learn a new art and you can use it automatically. And every character can equip any kind of weapon that they want. But as they start off, there's like a little bit of proficiency bias. I don't know, bias is kind of the wrong word, but like suggestion for certain characters. But you don't have to do that. You can ignore it.
So it's kind of like in Final Fantasy 12, I wanted to say, where you started with everybody had like those classes and those things on the ability grid that they kind of leaned over to, but you can take it anywhere on the grid that you want to.
Yeah, I think so. From what little I remember of Final Fantasy 12, from when did that game come out? Like 2006?
Oh yeah, like, years ago.
Yeah,
years
so 15
ago.
plus years ago. I don't remember. I need to play the HD version because the HD version has the reworked battle system and everything like that. But anyway, Alliance Live. I'm definitely going to have more to say about this battle system next week for sure. I can't wait to sink my teeth into this game. So far, just because I've gotten a taste of like all of the aspects of the game, I have to say it's done a fantastic job of like giving me some breadcrumbs and, intriguing me. So I can't wait to play more of this. So far, if you guys have been thinking about the Alliance Alive and you've been like, maybe I need a JRPG right now. I need a solid JRPG. From the very little I've played so far, this is it, fam. And if you've been thinking about like, maybe I should upgrade from the 3DS to the Switch version for the HD version, this is it, fam. Because there's a lot of visual stimulation in this game that really adds to the mood and really adds to the story from just the little that I've played. So I can't wait to see more.
Cool. So one question I did have for you is that it being an original 3DS game, and being first made for that, with this port coming over, do you feel any difference between, or have you noticed any difference between the two versions?
Not so much. I mean, of course, they've reworked the UI and reworked things so that way it works on one screen versus two. The visuals are definitely upgraded, like I've been saying. So far, nothing more than that. There is this little, this is one little complaint that I have. There is a mini map that appears in the bottom right-hand corner. It's mostly opaque, and there's kind of, so far, no way to turn it off, it seems. It's a little bothersome because the L button turns on a larger version of the map in the top left. So I'm kind of thinking, like, why not make that one function where you have like a mini map in the bottom left. You press L one time, it turns into a bigger version. You press L another time and it turns it off, and you cycle between those three options. I would really love to see an update to the game that, allows that, but I don't know if they'll redesign it to that deep of a...
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll have definitely some more impressions on this game next week because I'm going to get more time in with it for sure. We also did an interview with the developers of Alliance Alive HD and the original Alliance Alive. We had a huge dais of like 7 or 8 people. It was amazing. It was truly amazing to be sitting down with all of these superbly talented people. Please do check out our interview on nintendoeverything.com for the Alliance Alive.
Nice. I'm excited to hear your continuing impressions on it.
Thank you. So that was the Alliance Alive HD. Just came out recently on the Switch. Galen, what have you been playing?
I have been getting a little bit in time and playing Golf Story.
Oh, Cliff loves this game.
Yeah, it was on sale the other day. I picked it up, and yeah, it's fantastic. Like, it's a very lighthearted atmosphere when you're playing around. For those who are familiar with golf games, a lot of those same kind of mechanics come through to it. It's got the traditional, you press a button and then you're timing your shot to how much power you want to put behind it. What I really appreciate in the game is that they give you this ability to drop a golf ball wherever you are and just play.
Yeah.
And the world is surprisingly interactive.
Uh-huh.
And like my favorite thing is to hit people in the head with golf balls and just see the little like dizzy animations that they give and see what that actually affects on the screen itself.
Sounds like Goose Game has been invading your life then with your life choices.
A little bit. But also it is very fine-tuned, which I'm very glad that they were able to blend in the RPG mechanics with something that is very skill-based as well. A lot of it is like when you are making a shot, you have to take into account like wind direction, wind speed. Sometimes going for max power isn't the best option. I would appreciate if they would have remapped the controls a little bit, because when you're like moving left and right and aiming your shot, regardless of what direction you're actually aiming at, it's like rotate clockwise, rotate counterclockwise, and it takes a minute to like fully understand what's going on.
Do you mean your character, or are you talking about just like your shot?
Like rotating your character to make the shot.
Okay.
Yeah. There are a lot of complexities in the game that are very interesting to master, like rotating the ball around and precision shots and what is the right club to use while you're actually making a shot.
Sounds like golf.
It sounds like golf, but for somebody who does not play a lot of golf games and is just coming out to this going, oh, hey, this seems like a kooky RPG, let's give it a try.
Kooky, spooky and kooky.
They don't really explain the intricacies that well in-game. There's not so much like a tutorial that you go through or anything like that.
Oh, is there not?
So, there's a very basic one to give you the basic premise of, hey, this is what it's like when you're putting. This is like when you're making a shot. Hey, don't hit that goose that's over there.
Oh, yeah. He'll attack you in another game.
Yeah, there's a lot of goose jokes in this game, so I ended up like taking a couple of screenshots as I was going along.
Nice.
Yeah, very fun, very lighthearted as far as the humor goes. And it's really kind of, I almost want to say Earthbound-esque in just how absurd it is. Like, you go to the very first course that you're actually on, and you're coming back to it after being there as a kid, so you're seeing it's overgrown, and the owner is like this money-grubbing guy. But one of the holes that you need to play at has been taken over by disc golfers as opposed to actual golfers. And they have this like attitude of, oh, you don't understand the complexities of what we're doing here. You go ahead and hit your little ball with your little stick thing while we will play a real gentleman's game, when they're just talking about frisbee golf.
Yeah,
and actually
game
they
of
get
Frolf.
really, really mad. Yeah. they get really, really mad at you if you do call it a frisbee, and it's like, it's not a frisbee, it's a disc. And it becomes a running joke throughout the entire thing.
We are Olympians, this is a disc!
Exactly! And no, it was so entertaining to play through. So I highly recommend giving this game a try.
Sounds charming.
I'm currently stuck on the second level because I don't know what to do exactly.
Ooh, you should ask Cliff for help. Cliff, I think he completed that game. He definitely got far into it, if not.
Oh, maybe I will. Yeah, I feel like I've done everything that I can, but I don't know if I need to go back to a previous area or if there's what more I have to do at this point. So, but no, I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Cool. And also for the listeners at home, in case you don't know, Cliff is my husband, and we play video games on a YouTube channel very casually called Game Married. G-A-Y-M-E, Married.
Yep.
Galen, what else have you been playing?
So, I have also finally gotten back into some D&D, Dungeons & Dragons.
Were you ever out?
It has been about a year since I've last actually played myself. So.
I swear to God that you played yourself 2 weeks ago. And to be honest, I think that people play themselves a little more often than that.
Some people do.
It's a skill.
It's a skill. It's a life choice. Yeah, so I have been getting together. We played a session with my wife and a lot of her family. So we've got her younger sister, her younger brother, as well as her older brother. And I decided to do something a little bit different with this session. So we're playing through the Curse of Strahd campaign book, which is, it's all about this vampire that has taken over this land. There's a curse on the land itself, and it's very, very spooky and very Halloween themed, which is why I've been prepping this for a little while. But I decided that I was going to do a single one-shot session with everybody to kind of give them a little bit of a background and a history of their character before they were brought into the actual session. So it's my wife's character was a changeling, and she has a history of she's a criminal fence. So everybody comes to her with stolen goods, and it's her job to move those goods around and to sell it to various people. The ability of being a changeling is also a secret to a lot of people as well, too. So I set up this whole scenario of this rich mage wanted to go ahead and have her move some cargo to the edge of the forest without any questions being asked. And as she was moving it, she discovered that the cargo that was being moved was a doppelganger, which is very reminiscent of the changeling that she is.
It was a mimic.
Yeah, and I set up this moral quandary for her of, does she go ahead with the sale knowing that she's basically selling her own kind into slavery for whatever nefarious means that this mage has? And freaking cold-blooded just went with it. Didn't even bat a freaking eye.
That's your wife for you.
That is my wife. And yeah, and then I just had this mysterious fog come in through the forest and catch her at that moment. And then with another character, with Chris, her brother, he played this barbarian orc in a small tribe, and after a hunting excursion, the barbarian's village started to get attacked, Conan the Barbarian style. So he was right in the middle of this battle where his son and his wife were in dire need for any sort of assistance and whatnot. And then same thing, this fog comes in and snatches them out. The other session that I did was a pirate crew that was exploring a temple, and they ended up walking through a portal with that same fog that was around there. So we started the session last night, and all of them woke up right in that moment, completely oblivious to anything else that was going on. They were each coming from separate stories and trying to figure out, the barbarian's reaction was really good, because he still had that, adrenaline running through his system at the time, and the first thing he did when he woke up on the forest ground was he just yelled really loud in my home. So It was really exciting. It was really fun to like watch them meet these strangers for the first time and just kind of realize that, yeah, we should probably band together since none of us know what the hell is going on. D&D is a lot of fun.
It sounds great. You enjoy being the DM too, don't you?
Yeah, actually, this is only the second time that I've done it, and the first time I did it, I was writing my own world, and I found that I was kind of putting more of my own ego behind it as well, because I was taking ownership of this thing that I was creating from scratch. And while I did that with the Zero Sessions, it was kind of nice to just have something that I could read from a book and be like, okay, you go into this room and it's got, all of these different things. What do you want to do here? And there was a lot less. I didn't feel bad when they wanted to, throw a chair against a wall. I was like, okay, yeah, you do that.
Yeah, you got to be able to roll with the punches if you're the DM.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it sounds like you had a nice time.
I had a very nice time. We ended up didn't actually finishing the session, so we're going to have to pick it back up again a little bit later.
Like any D&D session. It never gets finished, and then it gets abandoned about 2/3 the way through. 2 years and 2/3 the way through.
There's always that one guy who's like, I'm feeling really tired. I should go to bed. Chris. Dun, dun, dun. Chris, if you're listening to this, I'm Kid.
Yeah, Mr. Redfield, what the hell? So let's stop having a nice time now and let's move on to the news because, whoa!
Oh, yay, news this week.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore, aka 現役分録 Sharp FE Encore.
I'm going to assume that's the title.
That is the title. Launching worldwide in January. Turns out, we found out this week that all versions, including the Japanese version, are based on the Western Wii U release that was censored. That's a bit of a weird sentence, right? So, this game originally came out on Wii U. It's getting an updated port on the Switch in January. There was a Japanese version, and then later on, I think almost a year later, the Western versions came out. Those versions were censored in a couple of different ways, and we'll get into that. Now, with this re-release, every version is going to be that Western censored version. That's what's happening there.
Yeah.
So we learned that then fans, presumably Japanese fans in particular, were upset by this, and Nintendo issued an apology explaining that they wanted to have a unified version of the game, and that's why they're doing one version for this re-release. Interjecting with that, obviously they should have gone with the other uncensored version and just released that, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna have to do some, like, reverse localization or localization of a version. They should have probably just gone with the one that's uncensored because this was already a kerfuffle back when the Wii U version came out and they were aware of it then. So they should have really just gone with that. But anyway, we'll get into that in a second. So they issued an apology, and then they also said, Nintendo said, that they would issue refunds to those who request them if they've already done the pre-purchase on the eShop because the game's available for pre-purchase. So that's really interesting, especially because they said that they're going to issue refunds. They also said that they're going to issue refunds for another game that we're going to get into later on in the news. Pretty crazy.
Oh, joy. Yeah.
So let's dial it back here. What has been censored in the Western version? Now, I have played through the Wii U original. I love this game. I think it's a great game. So that's also a little bit annoying to me personally about like this whole thing, is because it's kind of, it's overshadowing that this is a good game. This is a really fun game. Yeah. So it's annoying that this is what's getting the attention. But anyway, what has been censored? So some cleavage, which is boobies pushed together, some cleavage across a few costumes have been censored. It's really weird because not all cleavage has been censored. It's just like some of it. It's not making any sense. And that's kind of the overarching, whatever, theme here, is that it just kind of doesn't make sense. And I think that that's where a little bit of the upset reaction is coming to this.
Apparently not all cleavage is equal.
Yeah. Depends on the cup size. Roll with it. What else are you gonna say? Say something funny.
Nope.
Come on. This is supposed to be a comedy show, you bitch. Anyway, characters' ages that were 17 were changed to 18.
Mm-hmm.
There is a paid DLC that was not offered in the West that was available in Japan. It was just a hot springs interaction between the characters where they hang out, and there's some playful dialogue there. Some of the later Persona games have had these kinds of additions. Depending on how they're written, they can be really enjoyable little slices of character interaction if you like the characters. But what they really are is overpriced, sexually enticing paid DLC that should probably be in the game already. But regardless of what it is, that choice was taken away from Western consumers, and that is not good.
You don't get your Hot Springs episode.
But I need my onsen tamagos.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big thing is that in like chapter 3 or 4, I don't remember exactly which one it was, there was a story where, and this, don't worry, this isn't like spoilers or anything like that, but there was a story where there is this photographer who is possessed by a demon. He is taking advantage of young models or aspiring models and kidnapping them or something like that. It's been a couple of years since this game came out originally, so I can't remember the exact details. But anyway, in the Japanese version, the girls are all gravure models, which is kind of like a sexy bikini model. I'll explain more about that in a bit.
Yeah.
In the Western version, they were street fashion models. So some of the costumes and some of the dialogue was changed to match that change. The story, the characters' arcs, and their growth were all of the same. All of the same? Whoa, my English. It was all same? What? That's wrong too. All the same. There we go. Third time's a charm. And it didn't change the story in those regards at all. Now, that upsets people for a million different reasons. We're going to break this down, but I have to explain just a bit about what is a gravure model. It's not just a sexy bikini model.
Mm.
Gravure models are like kind of a unique thing to Japan that's similar to things in many other countries, but they're female models who do like sexy poses or activities. It could be like a DVD that just kind of follows this girl around in kind of like a voyeuristic way, where she's at home, like maybe taking a bath, but she has her bikini on, or she's, I don't know, cleaning something, but it's just like a very, I don't know, it's a very sexually voyeuristic kind of way of looking at them with like an air of like innocence as well. It's a very kind of Japanese thing.
Yeah.
The big thing about gravure idols is that they can be as young as preteens, because there isn't like anything sexually explicit happening. It's just very suggestive. So it could be a 12-year-old doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about now, but I know a lot of J-pop singers in the 90s got their start by doing gravure when they were preteens or in their teens. It's weird and it's gross and it's pedophilic in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, there's this one like super popular J-pop star, I mean, not anymore, but Ayumi Hamasaki. She was kind of like the Madonna of her era, or the Britney Spears of her era. She started out doing gravure stuff.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, like lots of them did in the 90s. I don't know about now, but anyway, that's just a facet of this. Like, oh my god, it's such an interesting social, I don't know, aspect that I could talk about this forever, but we're talking about video games here, right? So you gotta give you the baseline information here. But you want to know more, you send me some friggin' messages and we'll talk about it. I'd like to talk about society and language. My god. So far from what I've said, do you have anything to say about those aspects so far?
Yeah, see, this seems to be a little bit of a weird change for me. All in all, because
Yes.
I understand wanting to kind of pull away from the sexualization aspect of it, as far as like changing from the gravure model to a street fashion model. From what I understand, and I haven't played the game myself, so I don't know the intricacies of the character arcs or how they're progressing and how they're growing.
Yeah.
I would understand, though, that it seems like having a demon taking advantage of somebody in a sexual nature for an idol worship aspect, as opposed to just the idol worship aspects emphasized by this fashion. Like, it seems like the first one has a bigger impact story-wise. Like, it feels more emphasized.
So yes and no, because what they're wearing is just the vessel. It's that they are aspiring models that is the pertinent part to the story. Honestly, their clothes being changed from being gravure models to street fashion models didn't change the story at all.
Did you experience a story on both the Japanese and the English side, or did you just play the Western release?
No, I played the Western version, and then I watched through like a long play on YouTube of the Japanese version.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, you couldn't switch your versions in the Wii U version, and I wasn't about to buy a second copy of the same exact game for what I already seemed to see was, not very much change. It's mostly just a visual change, and then the dialogue was changed to go along with the visuals where it was pertinent. So anyway, the story was all basically the same. Like, the impact was...
the underlying messages were still, like, thematically accurate.
Yeah, so it's not like it compromised the story in any way. However, I do understand when people are upset that, changes were made for reasons that don't make sense, right? Because personally, I'm definitely against them changing these things to this larger degree for localization. They could have just changed in terms of localization, because I have worked on video game localization before. They could have just changed the dialogue from gravure model or gravure idol or whatever it is to swimsuit model, because that's a concept that makes sense in the West, and then change dialogue here or there to make sense for swimsuit model, because most of the girls in the game were wearing, bikinis or underwear that looked like bikinis. Mm-hmm. And they could have just changed a few models here or there that needed to be changed. If some of them looked like really underage or whatever, just make them look like they're, the young adult kind of thing. And it would have been the same exact thing as in Japan, because I honestly think that, like, having them be scantily clad models as opposed to street fashion models is a little bit stronger in almost a negligible way. Just, this is personally speaking here, as a storytelling device, right? Having these poor girls who are at their most vulnerable in a physical setting being taken advantage of and being, like, kidnapped by, an evil photographer is really awful, and I think that it can really engross the player. And then the characters, your protagonists, save the day, and the character of yours who was involved in the situation as well, they also grow as a person, yada yada yada. It's a bit more powerful when that's the setting rather than just the street fashion models, but honestly, the street fashion models worked just as well in the finalized Western version of the game. It's just that people know that it was changed, and that's what they're upset about,
And I can see that. I can see that happening. And just taking a broader look back, however, I find this very fascinating about the entertainment industry in regards to both media, video games, things like that, when it comes to localization, because I almost feel like taking the safer approach when you are thinking about changing aspects of a game, like they did here, is actually the riskier of the two moves.
Yeah, for a game like this that is definitely appealing to a niche audience, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think the ultimate thing is, like, what drove these changes? Was it they were going to get an M rating, so then they needed to change some things to get a T rating? You know what I mean? Or that's
a good point.
Was it a localization change at the localization level with middle management? Or was it an upper management? Like, we don't know what drove these changes, and I think that that's what's so upsetting to a lot of people. Even to me, like, I don't want to say upsetting, because, like, honestly, I don't care that much. I don't think that things should be censored for no reason. I'm gonna edit that out. Sorry, like, just whatever. There's F-bombs in this episode, everybody. There's a lot of who's gonna happen around.
Is it wrong that I appreciate the irony of what just happened right there with that whole statement?
Oh yeah, exactly. Jesus. Anyway, like, So I am definitely against these being changed. That is the core of what we should be talking about. On the internet, though, and in the comments section, it's a big old different freaking story because everybody's acting like a goddamn baby.
It's the
is
internet yelling
horrible.
And being the internet.
The internet is a living nightmare, and all of the comment sections are just full of hatred.
Mm-hmm. And here's my take on this whole thing.
Okay, give me your take.
So
Take me like perfume.
What?
Never mind.
You
don't understand Japan, man.
I guess I do not.
Japanese idols, this game is too heavy for you. Take me tonight. Take me.
Oni needs a nap, ladies and gentlemen. So I am in agreement with you as far as like making changes for localization sense. I'm in agreement with you on that one. I feel like this could have been mitigated a lot better back in the day. With that being said, with Atlus's recent announcement that it's the Western release, which is going to be the remastered version for the Switch that's coming out for everything, I'm not surprised by that at all. Like, they had made the decision and stuck by that decision to make these changes originally. So I think it would be weird for them to go back and make two different versions of the game, or to go back and undo all the changes that they made before.
Yeah, I think that what would help this situation to some degree would be full transparency, which as a company they probably won't do because they probably just want this controversy to die out. Something else we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. But I think that fans would be a little bit happier to hear full transparency. Here's why we made the changes. I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking from my own point of view, but here's why we made the changes. We know that you're upset. Here's what we're going to do to change it in the future, or whatever the hell. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Shy of them saying, okay, we're going to include the other version. We're going to delay the game. We're going to include the other version. I don't think that people are going to be actually happy, and people are going to be unhappy if they make that decision anyway to delay the game, because I don't know. It's such a it's an annoying little thing that blew up into something way huger than what it already was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, but the reactions are starting to make everything's a lot worse.
Absolutely, because here's the thing is that like the story isn't compromised. Nothing of value was changed in this game. The only thing that was really changed is that like you can't see boobs too much, and some of the costumes, because you can get a costume for every single thing that a character wears in the game. And the costumes in this arc in the Japanese version was them in like swimsuits or something like that, and instead of that they have the street fashion costumes instead. But they still do have like a swimsuit costume in the English version as well. Like it's just not that exact one. I don't know. That's what doesn't make sense. None of this follows any rules, so it's just like what the fuck? What the fuck? And so like I was talking to some people like in our comment section about like, oh, I wonder if it was, they made these changes to remove the M rating and go down to T, because originally in development this game was supposed to be an M rated game.
Okay.
But then, as it released it was a T. So, I thought, well, maybe that's it. Just trying to take an educated guess there. And there was a lovely person, and I wish I could remember their name or their handle name online. They responded to me in a very logical and calm way, and they said like, well, here's a couple of examples of like, crazy stuff that's more sexualized than this that's in a game that is rated T, and it's a fighting game or whatever, so it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, yeah, like great points, I totally agree with you, but I'm wondering if, just because the Western ratings boards, like the ESRB who gives the T and the M, and then there's PEGI that does the Europe and Eurasia, I'm wondering if they just kind of don't have rules that they follow very well, just kind of like the ratings boards for movies, for Hollywood films in America. They just don't have rules specifically that they follow to a T. It's almost like, well, wait, why did this one pass, but that one didn't?
Well,
that kind
and
of thing.
I wonder how much of this is also, like, back in the day when they made these changes, I wonder how much of it was decision by committee. Like, they got a bunch of focus test groups in, and that particular test group was like, hey, I wouldn't buy this game if it has an M rating. Or, like I wonder if they gimped themselves.
We don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if they gimped themselves because they wanted to try to sell more copies and they thought they can reach a broader audience with a T rating. So that's why they made these changes.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's what my educated guess was before, because this game came out in the later portions of the Wii U's life cycle when Nintendo was already in the background. They were already moving on from the Wii U.
I remember this being one of the games that, like, the last game for the Wii U that I actually took interest in. And it was like, maybe I'll pick that up.
Yeah. It came out, at least in the West, it came out definitely in like one of the last years of the Wii U for sure.
Yeah.
And my thought on that was, I'm wondering, okay, if investors are investing in this company that has this failing hardware and they have very few software coming out, then they want, if they're going to be releasing, such sparse hardware, if they're going to be releasing such sparse software, then they're going to want that software to not be an M rating because then it reaches a broader audience. I don't know how much of an importance I'm putting on that in the gaming sphere. I don't know how much of an importance that really is. I know for films like Hollywood films, that's really important for it to be the T rating instead of the M rating or whatever. Or no, R instead of T, whatever the hell it is. PG-13.
Yeah.
In films. So I'm attributing a bit more importance to that in the gaming sphere, but that was my thought, is that, investors are probably pushing them, or they want to appease investors, or they want to appease upper management. I don't even know. Just like, we don't know at all why these changes were made, so we're just kind of throwing out educated guesses here on this. And that's what makes this annoying for me. But with that point, though, people outrage freaking mascots in the goddamn comments. They're like, who made these decisions? Was it Nintendo? Was it Atlas? I am of the mindset that it doesn't actually matter at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, change my mind on this situation, but I think people just want to figure out a company to blame so that way they can be even more awful on the internet about it. They're just... Never mind. I can't even get into that. I can't apply logic to people who are being illogical. That's my mantra, man.
I feel like the outrage her mascots are just like yelling and focusing directly on this game's breasts, and the game just like, hey, my eyes are up here, and you look up and it just says the story across their face.
That's a good one. So, like, I think that they're focusing on the wrong things about this. I think people should be upset that things were kind of unexplainably censored for the West. And people should be upset about that if they feel that way. I personally am annoyed by that too. I don't think that is necessary. But ultimately, though, I think the takeaway on this is that it is good that it is getting backlash. It is sending Nintendo a message, obviously, because they even issued an apology on it. So I think that is good. That's part of, consumers voicing their opinions and stuff, and hoping that a company will change certain things for either this game or future games to the consumer's liking because it is financially viable for them.
Yeah.
But, like, stop being gross, awful, creepy sex perverts in the internet comments or whatever, and stop fighting each other for the dumbest reasons. Get off this planet. I'm so done with that garbage. It's nonsensical.
No, I agree. I mean, if I had to sum up my opinions on this entire thing, it would be, I'm against the changes that they made originally because I think they were necessary, and I question as to whether or not the impact of the story was affected with A, the DLC that was removed, and B, the changes to that one chapter that we were talking about. The second point is that I think it's fine that they just, after they had made the changes, that they kept with those changes when they decided to remaster it. Like, they've already, if anything, it shows them kind of sticking to their guns on this, of just being like, hey, we made these changes, we stand by these changes, and we want this to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, now that they're issuing refunds to those who request it, I don't think that they're going to be changing their tune on this anytime soon, even though I would want them to.
Exactly. And the
Because
third point is
this is a good game.
Yeah, the third point is people are getting way too upset over something that really does nothing for the story. Like, this is an RPG. The story is all that, should really matter. Otherwise, you're literally just complaining about tits. I mean, let's be serious, people.
So I'm of the thought that, like, if this upsets you on a genuine social level of censorship and you don't want things to be censored, I very much understand that, and I think that that is a very valid opinion. If you're upset because you can't see your anime boobies, that's kind of irrational, because you still see some anime boobies. I know it's annoying when you get your boobs taken away from you, but there's a lot of boobs in the world.
Trust me, there are tons of other places that you can see anime boobies. You can even see those anime
Galen's
boobies.
a creepy sex pervert. He knows all about finding anime boobies.
DeviantArt is a thing. Trust me, you can get your anime boobies.
So, the thing is that I have played through the game. This is a really fun game, and I really want this game to succeed. I would love to see, I've mentioned it before, I would love to see the Tokyo Mirage Sessions brand grow, where it's a crossover with another Nintendo IP, and it's just a different take on another Nintendo IP, and it's just weird Japanese nonsense RPG. It's so over the top. You fly on a mechanical Pegasus around the 109 tower, the fashion tower in Shibuya, and you jump down and you fight a demon with your lance as you sing pop songs to awaken your sister's heart. This game is amazing! And all people can talk about is that they can't see the cleavage.
For the sequel, can we do Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the Bayonetta edition?
She would fit too well in that world.
Right?
Too well. I want to see, like, Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp Zelda, because I think that there's a lot of things that they could go with that. This game is amazing, and I really hope that if you have heard... Here's the takeaway. If you have heard that the game's story is compromised, if you have heard that everybody is dressing like a librarian, those two things are wrong. The story is not compromised. All of the arcs are the same. The characters' growth are all the same. It's not like it's a baby child version. It's annoying that things have been changed. However, it doesn't ruin the game or ruin the story by any means. Please do keep an eye on this game if you were interested in the first place. I love this game.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions Donkey Konga.
Yeah. Fuck it. Sure. You look good. Get in. And I do want to make a bit of a shout out to somebody in the comment section named, I think it was Neptunia's Beard. I think that's his or her name. I think it's a guy. They made the greatest comparison, that it's like the story of the Three Little Pigs, the changes to the localization is like the story of the Three Little Pigs, but one of the pigs built his house out of sand instead of straw. All of the same stuff played out. And that's exactly what happened here. That's a great comparison. Really great comparison.
That is a great analogy. I like that.
But I understand if you're upset about censorship and like you're really making a strong stand, you're not going to buy this game for that reason. Definitely understand that. I applaud you for having strong morals, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to rebuy this game because the game is fantastic. I want to see this brand grow.
Yeah, I wanted to try it before, so I'm excited to get another opportunity to do that.
Please do. I love this game so much. And I want to hear people talking to me about this game too, so please send me like comments or send us an email, nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com about this game, because it was seriously, if not my favorite Wii U game, like top 3 Wii U game for sure. Let's lighten things up with a big old fat Pokemon.
That's not controversy.
Surprisingly, yeah. No Pokemon controversy this week. We got new Gigantamax Pokemon revealed. There were, 5 of them or something like that? The most important are 2. We get Gigantamax Pikachu, aka Chonkachu. Oh lord, he coming.
Chonkachu! I love it.
He's enormous, and his cry is hilarious too because he sounds like Fat Pikachu. And it's great. I love him. I love how they also have the height listed for the Pokemon when they introduce them like in text form, and it's like, they're a million freaking feet tall. It's great.
I love Chonkachu. I want a Chonkachu. I found my new spirit animal. Yeah.
Yeah, he does look like you.
I'm looking at some of the other ones right now, and before I go into them, I didn't realize that the floating black clouds going in a circle or a halo around the Pokemon in some sense is a thing with all Gigantamax Pokemon. Like, I just realized this.
I also realized that as well. Like, I had seen them before but didn't think much of them, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it seems like it's different for all of them. Like with the Charizard one, which he looks like a frickin' beast.
He looks like a meaner version of Valoo from Wind Waker.
Yeah. But yeah, the dark clouds are around his tail as opposed to around his head.
Okay.
Like, I just thought that was interesting. Also, I really want to call him Alolan Meowth, but
no,
I think there actually isn't Alolan Meowth.
He is Longcat Meowth. He is straight out of that meme. He is straight out of that meme. I am so happy.
I'm so happy with this. Like,
it's
this is
so
ridiculous.
Stupid. Just make it dumber. Just make everything dumber. This world is a living nightmare. Make everything dumb, please. It's the only way I can enjoy things anymore.
Yeah, this is so great. I did have to remind myself that there is actually a difference between Dynamaxing and Gigamaxing.
Gigantamaxing. Yes. Dynamaxing is the one that looks like crap, and Gigantamaxing is the one where their forms actually change. You can, I think, Dynamax any Pokemon, I think.
Yes.
But then Gigantamaxing only works for some Pokemon because they're not going to make models of every Pokemon, even though they have fewer Pokemon in the whole damn game.
Yeah, so they actually came out with, earlier this month, they came out with, like, I think it was Game Informer who did a 100-to-1 rapid-fire questions. And one of the questions that they were asking about was about Dynamaxing. And apparently, the process of Dynamaxing is it's actually a light projection that shoots out. So it's basically a hologram around your Pokemon. And your Pokemon is, like, in the center itself. Yeah, it's pretty silly, like. But I think they are just really wanting to differentiate between those two.
Well, I guess that's their excuse for it looking like seriously just a blown up version of the same exact model. It looks like a float, looks like a Poke-Float.
Yeah. But yeah, all Pokemon can Dynamax, but only certain individuals of a certain species can Gigantamax.
Okay.
So I think it's very interesting because you feel like certain Pokemon can Mega Evolve, but it's like a subsection into that as well. Like the quote unquote special Pokemon is starting to become more narrow and more defined. I'm really impressed with the designs. I do like how you can still tell exactly what these Pokemon are, but they're making a bit of an effort to make them a little bit more unique. Like I said, the Charizard one looks very intense, and I like how it's almost a play off of like Mega Charizard. I want to say Y, whichever one doesn't turn him into a Dark Dragon. It's like a play off of that one.
Whichever one's not Bahamut.
The Butterfree one was cool. I like the, incandescent glowing wings that it has.
That is straight up just Mothra.
Exactly.
I like that a lot.
Chonkachu is my favorite. I like
Longcat
how they gave...
Meowth is my favorite.
Yeah. I like how they gave one for Eevee, and Eevee is just puffed up to the point where he can't move the right way.
Yeah, that one I don't really like so much. I love Eevee. I think most of us do, but he just looks like fluffy Eevee. There's not really a whole lot going on with that redesign.
I always forget that they really wanted to make Eevee the the mascot Pokemon just because of the versatility of him. And just Pikachu just completely took over.
When did they want to make him that, though? Other than the Let's Go?
I thought it was they wanted to make him the mascot like when the series was originally created back in the 90s, but they decided
Really?
it was either him or Jiggly or Clefairy. I don't know. It's weird because you also have the manga, which focused on more Pokemon
I love
as
that
the
manga
mascots
style
on that
from
one.
that. Do you remember what the manga style looked like back in the day
absolutely.
for the first one? I love that manga style. I forgot who the mangaka was on that.
Yeah, no, that was great. But no, they've been trying to give Eevee more and more focus on that.
I do recall that there was a Pokemon that they wanted to be more so the mascot. For whatever reason, I feel like it wasn't Eevee, but I don't know. I'm not the hugest Pokemon fan. I'm a normal level Pokemon fan.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think that in order to get, like, the easiest way to get Chonkachu and her Gigantamax Eevee is to have save files from Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ha.
Yeah, it's like it reads your save file or something like that, and then you're able to bring it over. Or don't quote me on the exact specifics of them, but I do know that those two games are involved with obtaining these guys. I think the Meowth, it's not a pre-order bonus, but it's also a like an early purchase bonus is what they called it. Like as long as you play the game before, I think it's like January or sometime like that, like you get Gigantamax Meowth. Or a Meowth.
As long as you purchase the game before the fiscal quarter cutoff, you can obtain. Yeah. But you can obtain that stuff all in game, right? Like none of it is actually locked to pre-purchase or whatever.
I hope so. I would assume so because these are their huge, like some pretty big mascots that they're throwing out here. So if they did kind of like content lock that by any sort of like purchase restrictions, I think that would be a really, really bad move. And also a really bad sign for the direction that they're taking Pokemon as a whole. But
yeah, I agree.
I've seen nothing to indicate that whatsoever.
Yeah. I feel like if that were the case, people would have found that controversy to blow up on this particular Pokemon game this week.
Exactly.
And I think we would have heard about it. So
exactly.
I don't think that's the case, but we'll see. We'll see.
But new Pokemon, like I'm getting a little bit more excited for the Gigantamax Pokemon because I want to see what new designs that they come out with. I mean, Dynamax is
me too.
Still kind of lame. Like Pokefloats is weird, but you know, I'll take my weird Kaijumon.
That's right. What were you call Kaijumon? Is that what you called him? Pokaiju. That's what you called him.
Pokaiju.
We did not stick to that. We said we would. We didn't.
We really should.
We also got a couple more bits of information out of Pokemon Sword and Shield this week. We heard that in the wild area that you can encounter like drastically over-leveled Pokemon, not unlike Xenoblade, where you'll see like a big old guy in the distance and you're like, ooh, I can't go up to that guy.
Odd. Well, and I feel like they're really trying to create more of a world for Pokemon to feel lived in as opposed to the random battles. Like that, you can really tell that that's obvious with them implementing the fields that you can go into, and you can now walk up to Pokemon and battle them as opposed to just getting into the random ones. I think this is just an evolution of that idea to make it a little bit more varied. And also for the replay value, you know, you go and you level up and you come back to that area a little bit later and you can catch those higher end Pokemon. Like, it's a good mechanic to entice players to revisit and play the game longer.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong here, but typically you want to catch Pokemon that are very low leveled because when you level them up on your own, their stats grow better as opposed to you catch a level 50 whatever, right?
If you're raising them, yes, if you're raising them. However, it does increase the challenge level as well. So it doesn't feel like, oh, I need to go catch a Sparrow because I never did that earlier, so I guess I might as well go back to the first level. Well, if you go to the first level and there's level 30 Pokemon floating everywhere, you're like, oh, hey, maybe I'll check out this place a little bit more.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
And we also heard that you can skip the Pokemon catching tutorial in the beginning of the game in Sword and Shield. I think that this is a welcome change for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, this was in one game before, but then they kind of didn't continue to implement it.
Maybe? I don't know. I'd have to look back on that.
Also don't know.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a nice change. I mean, I think I'll probably still go through the tutorial just because. But yeah, I'm not as enthusiastic about this news as some of the other ones.
You want to see an elderly man, aka your professor, throw Pokeballs at a fully health leveled Weedle and catch it? That's what you want to see?
Well, how else are you supposed to get 200 items in whatever's in your 6th item slot?
You still get all that stuff.
Come on.
You still get all the Pokemon. the Pokeballs. You still get balls. Okay, what's your ideal Pokemon catching tutorial then, Galen? What do you want to see that is so Galen specific that is perfect for you?
Honestly, I really liked the tutorial from, I think it was Pokemon Yellow, because you go back and you see the same old man, and he throws a Pokemon at the fully health Weedle, and it just knocks it away and just walks away. And he goes like, "Oh, right, I needed to hurt it first. Shoot." And he like is sad and disappointed by this because he completely forgot a step of teaching you what to do.
So for me, I'm going a little bit deeper and darker with this. I want to see it as a competition between you and your rivals and your friends, and everybody's watching you, and then they're shouting out things to you as you're battling, and as you're trying to catch your brand new Pokemon, and then like, you know, you hurt it, and like if you kill it, they're like, "Oh my God!" You know, they just like shame you. They absolutely shame you, and you get a straight up game over because you need to know.
First game over ever.
Yeah, immediately. A game over immediately. And then your mom, you're so sad, and the game over happens after this. So you go back home and you're sad, and your mom's like, "Honey, listen, I made dinner, but you haven't earned it. So I know it's raining outside, but you should really just stay outside because you're an animal and that's where you belong now."
Your character develops abandonment issues. He has to go to therapy and just like can't cope with things.
And that's the game. That's the game for
the rest of the game.
For 10 to 15 hours, and then you get a game over, and then you can start over again and see, you know, if you can catch that Weedle.
Instead of becoming a Pokemon trainer, you end up going to community college and just end up getting like a literary degree, and you just end up like never using it at all. No, you
even
end up working
darker.
at like a chemical plant, and yeah.
Even darker though. You go to community college because you're like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, it's cheaper, and you know, I'm going to save a lot of money in the long run. That way I don't have to spend 4 years at a full college." And then, by the way, this is completely lost on most of our European listeners for sure, because college is mostly subsidized in many European countries instead of it being a crippling debt in America like it is. Anyway, so you go to community college, you're lying to yourself, and then, you know, you take a break. After about six months or maybe a year, you take a little break, you know, and you're going to go back to it, and you know, you're working that at the lawn agency where you're cutting grass, and you're filling like concrete, and you're doing physical labor, and then, you know, you find yourself in the bar because now you're 21, which is drinking age in America, which is crazy because that's really high. And then you're just like, should have caught that goddamn Weedle. Like, what the hell?
And
then you don't get a degree. You don't even get one, and you're staring at your phone, your Nokia phone from so many years ago that you're so surprised it still works, and you couldn't even believe it. Someone calls you, and the Pokemon ringtone comes on from the first game, and it sounds like Pokemon because it's a Nokia phone, and it just says "Mom" across the thing. And then you're just like, "Oh my God, my mom's calling me. She hasn't talked to me since I killed that Weedle." You pick it up, and it's actually your sister. And you're like, "Sis, why are you calling from Mom's phone?" And this is the end where it cuts to credits. And your sister's just like, "Mom's dead."
What the
I don't know. I was trying to make a joke. This is just my mental state right now.
Dark, man. I was sitting here saying you're
Don't
sitting in a
skip the
bar.
Pokemon catching tutorial so things don't go wrong for you guys.
I was just sitting here and it's like you're sitting in a bar and you meet a girl and you really start to like connect and really think about like going ahead and like asking her out, and you can see this whole life ahead of you, but you can't summon up the nerve and you can't catch her. And that is the ending theme.
Oh, yeah. Hey, there you go.
In case you want an alternative to, you know, like dead moms and dying without ever getting any sort of, you know, resolution in your life and living with that regret forever.
And like the mom didn't die of old age or anything like that. She died because the wild area around the town was overrun by Pokemon, and she was killed by a Pokemon when she went to market one day. And then you feel this deep regret that you're like, if I had been a Pokemon trainer, I could have caught so many Pokemon and handled the overpopulation in the wild area surrounding our town.
This is getting too real. This is getting way too real.
Oh. He's trying to make a joke, oh no.
So much for ending the segment on levity.
Let's talk about Activision-Blizzard and Overwatch launching on the Switch this week. Did you hear it launched on the Switch this week? Neither did I. Neither did nobody.
Yeah.
Here we go. So what happened? Overwatch launched this week to no fanfare, to no promotion. The Nintendo New York launch event was canceled by Blizzard. Do you know why, Galen?
You should tell me.
So, this all started off a good old week and a half ago with an incident involving a pro Hearthstone player that goes by the handle name Blitzchung, a gentleman from Hong Kong. There was a Hearthstone live event being streamed or something like that in Asia Pacific, and Blitzchung, who is from Hong Kong, said, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our time." Activision-Blizzard responded by banning him from competitions for 1 year and withheld prize money he was rightly owed. And they even stated that they weren't going to work with the two hosts of the live stream that were present when Blitzchung said this, even though they didn't say nothing.
Yeah, that's intense.
The hosts even lowered their heads to not show their faces when Blitzchung made this statement because they knew that there would be some sort of backlash. Everyone in China knows that even if they're Taiwanese or from Hong Kong, their freedom of speech is jeopardized, and that's how serious this situation is.
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard referenced a very vague rule in their contract, basically stating that we can punish someone for anything that we solely feel is punishable. And ultimately, Blitzchung's punishment was reduced, but he's still suspended from Hearthstone competitions for like 6 months. So that's where this started. This is the spark that lit the fire.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Overwatch released, no promotion. Nintendo New York event was canceled by Blizzard. And even now, bipartisan members of American Congress have contacted Activision Blizzard, calling out their hypocrisy. So, there's two big things we gotta explain about this. One is what is going on in Hong Kong, and another is why is Blizzard doing this? Choose your path, Galen. Which should we talk about first?
Let's talk about the second one. Like, why is Blizzard doing this?
Okay. So China is a hugely important financial market for businesses. And the Chinese government is very sensitive, as we have seen in recent years especially.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of society, the middle class in China has grown at a huge rate in the past 20, 30 years in China. There is a lot of new money, and we see Western media, including Hollywood films in particular, be edited or almost completely reworked for that market, and for so they can get the communist government's permission to release that film in their country. So businesses are appeasing and going against values that they say that they uphold, just like Activision Blizzard, all for that magical word, money.
Yeah. But knowing that they want to stay in the good graces of China, I mean, this does seem very politically charged in business politics as far as making this decision to, ban this player. The reason they gave for it, I actually am kind of in agreement with, simply because I do honestly believe that when you are in a tournament scene, that it is not necessarily the time to, especially if you are a tournament winner, it is not the time to kind of step forward and make a completely unrelated political statement, especially to an audience who may not know what it is that you're even talking about.
Oh, that audience knows. That was an Asia Pacific stream.
Exactly. And I mean, there's so many other things. Nobody knew that this was actually going to happen. And I believe that regardless of, I mean, you can tell that because the broadcasters themselves, just like you said, they put their faces down and just did not want to be a part of this whatsoever. And
no, I think that they did know that it was coming. I think that those hosters were Taiwanese.
Really?
Yeah, so they have a similar interest because they're both democratic. I don't know what to specifically call them. Democratic. I don't know. It's a really weird situation in China because they're technically China, but they're not. They're both very unique situations. So I think that they did know. And also I do a big disagree with you on this. But before I go into my disagreements, continue, please.
I don't feel that blindsiding everybody with a political statement that is unrelated to what you are receiving an award for is in very bad taste. Now, there's an argument to be made on that it is a way of nonviolent protest that has been proven effective in the past, because if your goal is to raise awareness for a section, then if you have a soapbox to stand on, then by all means, go ahead and use it.
He sure did raise awareness because there's a whole bunch of gamers that didn't even know that this crap has been going on in Hong Kong.
I want to say that I agree with them banning the player in an essence of wanting to try to separate political motivation from what their product actually stands for. However, because of the nature of what this person said, there's no way to do that. Because by either taking action or taking inaction, you're making a statement regardless. And it was a very bad position. You can't
have a non-political response to a political statement or a political act.
Exactly. So you're going to have somebody who's upset regardless of what you end up doing.
Yeah. I do a big disagree with you. I think that Activision-Blizzard is super cowardly for making these decisions because it is so see-through why they did this. They want to appease the Chinese government because they are so sensitive to these things and they don't want to lose any money. If somebody said a political statement about something, I could kind of see what you're saying, but the thing is that, okay, let's move on to what's going on in Hong Kong, because it is dire AF in Hong Kong right now. That's sensationalism. It's serious, is what it really is. So protests have been going on this year, sparked by controversial legislation to extradite those convicted of crimes in Hong Kong to mainland China, which Hong Kong is super against. So scheduled protests have been going on. There was a big event that happened at the end of September in particular, where before a scheduled protest began, about 40 minutes before, police began firing tear gas into crowds. And since then, there's been this really high tension in Hong Kong where suddenly, not even protesters, but innocent people have been getting beaten and attacked by Chinese police. There's lots of videos like this on the internet. If you haven't seen them, recommend you to kind of check them out just to kind of know what's going on in the world and what has been going on in the world. This isn't just this isn't like somebody said, make America great again. This is somebody being like, hey, Hong Kong is going away. China is trying to erase Hong Kong. and they rightfully have that fear. Let's put out some facts then. This is the easy things to talk about is facts. So Hong Kong is a former British colony, and they had like a really unique governance under the principle of one country, two systems. And then back in like the late 90s, 96 maybe, I don't remember, the colony was handed over to China, and British law dictated that Hong Kong will retain its common law and capitalist system for another 50 years after that handover happens. So Hong Kong still got another, 30 years of their own government. Mainland China's government has been extending its influence over Hong Kong long before this deadline, obviously. There's been dozens of things that have happened in the past 20 years, the past 10 in particular, where China is basically trying to, get rid of Hong Kong in terms of its uniqueness, trying to even get rid of the Cantonese language as much as it can. Like, speaking to a few of my Hong Kong friends, they're really defeated about this because they know, they feel that they know that Hong Kong will not exist in the future within their lifetimes, and it's really awful when I hear about it. So that's why the situation is so dire, and that's why this person, Blitzchung, who is from Hong Kong, made this statement. Whether it was in poor taste or not to do so is certainly up for debate. It was within Blizzard's rights to ban him, but that decision is getting flack pretty unanimously around the globe. And in doing that, you are sort of silencing free speech, which you say that you stand up for. I mean, like, look at, their products like Overwatch, right? Oh, Overwatch is LGBTQ friendly and inclusive. Why? Because it's financially viable for Activision-Blizzard to market toward that demographic now. So the other portion of this is that some fans are using the character in Overwatch, Mei, who is from mainland China in Overwatch lore.
Mm-hmm.
They're using Mei with fan art and edits as a supporter of the Hong Kong protests, which I think is an absolutely brilliant move, because if this character gets overwhelmingly associated with Hong Kong protests, theoretically, China could require Activision Blizzard to remove her from the game or something like that in China. Just hitting Activision Blizzard where it hurts,
Yeah.
Like, that might sound like a stretch, but may I remind you that Winnie the Pooh is currently banned in China because Xi Jinping is upset that people have been saying that he looks like Winnie the Pooh. And he does! That bitch looks like Winnie the Pooh as fuck!
Did they also ban Donald Duck for not wearing pants?
In Kingdom Hearts 3, there's like a white veil, like a ghost, over Winnie the Pooh in that damn game that in China. I'm serious. It is the dumbest stuff ever. So Overwatch is out on the Switch now. We have information on our website talking about the technical specs of this port, how it runs. Have you been playing Overwatch? Anybody?
I have not, personally. I've been busy doing D&D and golf.
Yeah. I played a little bit on the PS4 when it had one of those free weekends. I think it was when, Lawbreakers launched or something like that. They did a free weekend that very weekend. Like, oh, super good marketing. Super good marketing to just kneecap another game. But anyway, I tried it out when it was free on PS4 for a weekend, and it is a well-made game for sure. It is just not my type of game, so it's not for me.
Yeah.
So let's move on to some additional DLC.
Yeah.
Galen, what you got for those people to do the watching and listening?
This week I've got a video called Bad Game Design Super Mario Party.
Is this by Snowman Gaming?
It is.
I like his channel.
In my notes, for some reason, I put down Super Mario Gaming instead of Super Mario Party, so... Yeah, this is done by Snowman Gaming, and the video is kind of cool. It is an objective look at the gameplay elements of, in this case, Super Mario Party. They do a couple of different, here's what's good about some other games, and I personally have always been a really big fan of Super Mario Party ever since it came out last year, and it was very interesting to hear a argumentative yet respectful counter to a lot of the elements of the game itself. So it was very thought-provoking, and yeah, it's quite an interesting watch, so I recommend him.
Excellent.
Oni, what do you got?
So I am recommending a video on YouTube by Zeltic. Zeltic is one of the good YouTube boys. Wait, good boys of YouTube, that's what I was trying to say. I've recommended his stuff before, and got a little bit of a vested interest in recommending this video. It's called The Demon of Hateno Village, a Zelda Breath of the Wild theory. My vested interest is that I helped him out a little bit with the video in doing some translations for him and helped him figure out some stuff that he thought was particularly interesting that was in the Japanese version but not the English version. And so he goes into that a little bit more, goes into a theory, and it's just a fun watch, just a fun popcorn watch. I don't think about theories too deeply in the Zelda lore because I don't think that it's very well connected, but that's just my opinion. His videos are so entertaining, such high production value. I've always enjoyed his videos. Check him out on YouTube.
Nice.
And now on to our favorite segment. What is it called, Galen?
I believe it's called Listener Mail.
I thought you were going to sing. You didn't do a little singing?
No, I'm trying to hold back my my singing this episode.
I am currently that GIF image of Lucille Bluth closing the door on you. If you have an email and you want to close the door on Galen, you can write into us at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
That email one more time is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
And if you did, your email might sound a little something like this.
So this email, we have a response email from Jay. Hey Jay, how's it going?
What up, Jay? This is the second time I'm mentioning you in the episode.
Hey. Jay wrote in a couple of weeks ago about, he was debating on Xenoblade Chronicles the Definitive Edition, and whether or not it would be worth to buy it. So Jay writes, Oni and Galen, you guys are the best. Thanks so much for the... Thank you very much.
Oh, I should do like a beetle? Thank you. Oh.
Miss Yuna, do you want to ride the shoe puff?
Miss Yuna, what can I do for you? Somebody shave me.
You guys are the best. Thank you so much for the advice on whether or not to get the new definitive version of Xenoblade Chronicles. I can't say whose advice was better, because ultimately it was similar, and you both are great and had good points.
That's because Galen swam in my wake.
To Galen's point, I value story over visuals, so there's an argument for the 3D version to still be viable. However, to Oni's point, quality of life improvements would be huge. And for the record, I agree with that. Like, playing an older game and then playing a newer game and just feeling those differences between them, night and day difference. So,
see, he's still swimming in my wake.
I'm definitely going to play at least through the first 3 hours of the 3DS game, but I will be getting the Definitive Edition. Do I need it? Probably not. But I'm all for supporting Xenoblade and more entries to the franchise coming to the Switch, which is a very good point. That's very important to have.
Hell yeah.
Oni, what's your favorite Xeno game, and what quality of life improvements would you like to see in the new game? Galen, will you be getting the Xenoblade Definitive Edition? Have you played any of the previous entries? Thanks for writing in, Jay.
Arigato!
Arigato gozaimasu. I will start this off by saying I am very interested in the Xenoblade Definitive Edition. I haven't actually played any of the previous entries myself, just because...
Being the fake gamer that I am, Galen.
Being the fake gamer that I am, a Call of Duty, Warfare, MLG pro gamer right here. I don't know. Is that still like a joke that people take jabs at?
360 Norscorp.
Norscorp.
Oh my god, I bet that is like Swedish or something like that. Yeah, it's Norscorp.
I probably won't be picking up this game when it first comes out, because if I remember correctly, there's quite a few games around that time that I'm probably going to be playing as well. But yeah, if I see it on sale, I'm definitely going to be picking it up because I've always wanted to play it. Like, the game seems good.
You are already making excuses because the game doesn't even have a release window. It's just 2020. That's like,
there's a lot of games coming out in 2020, damn it.
That's like when somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to have a party. Can you come?" And then you respond with, "Oh, I'm busy that day. When is it?" Such a jackass.
Well, Oni, why don't you give us the better answer of the two? So, what is your favorite Xeno game, and what quality of life improvements would you like to see in a new game?
Don't even direct me to give the better answer of the two. You know that that's my default state. My interest in Xenoblade Definitive Edition is... Now, of course, I've talked about the quality of life improvements being things like a run button, because movement in that game was a little bit slow. Perhaps that had to do with hardware limitations, though that game did not give a damn that it was on the Nintendo Wii. That was amazing on a graphical standpoint.
Yeah.
I hope that there's a run button so you can traverse the land much faster. That is honestly like a critical quality of life improvement that needs to happen.
So, quick question. Do you prefer a hold down and run button, or do you prefer a run toggle?
A toggle for a game like this.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially, I don't know if I ever actually prefer a hold down. If you're doing short bursts of running, maybe.
Yeah. I feel like holding down the button and running is better suited for like platformers and stuff.
Oh, yeah, something like that. But like in a game like this where it's a 3D space, I feel like usually the run button is, that's usually like clicking in L, the left stick, L3.
Yeah.
And if you are clicking in and holding that, that is so awkward and it feels terrible. So it should never be that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I was just thinking of like comparing games like Pokemon or the original Pokemon, for example, when you would put on the running shoes and hold down the B button and start running after that. And you ended up always running everywhere you went.
Yeah. I think like a toggle is probably the best one, but it depends on the game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, honestly, do exactly what they did with the Xenoblade Chronicles Xenoblade Cross on the Wii U was amazing in its quality of life features and its UI cleanup. Like, you could customize everything. You could customize where the camera sat, whether it was to the left and down or up and to the right. Like, so many options. I love customization options. It was great. I just take that and do that. And then another thing that I would really like to see is some of the land was a little bit, it was either too big or just too boring for how big it was. There was a lot of spaces that were not a lot was going on and you had to just kind of keep going. And this is part of the thing where, you know, you had to run a lot, or excuse me, you had to traverse a lot without a run button. So it just kind of made some of the exploration monotonous. In that I really thought like, oh, this stuff looks really cool all the way over there. I want to go check it out. But it's kind of far away and I know that it's going to take me a while, so maybe I won't explore it. And that should never be a feeling that your player has in their game. I never felt like that in Xenoblade Cross, so I hope that they honestly just take like so many things from Xenoblade Cross and do that, because there was a super speedy run in there. Like, it was goofy how fast you could run and jump and everything like that. But
yeah,
I really hope that they do that kind of thing. And then in addition to those kinds of quality of life things, some other things that I don't think that will really happen, but would be nice, is some more catchphrases. They would have to re-record or record new lines or whatever with the same voice actors. But some of the complaints were that
they weren't really feeling it.
that they said the same thing over too many times, and that's kind of going to be the nature of the game with, you know, a lot of games like this, RPGs like this. But they did have more lines in Xenoblade Cross, Xenoblade 2, so I hope that they add some more lines in there to just vary things up. But I'm always going to be really feeling it. I don't know about you.
A little bit of something new and extra be able to put into it would be nice.
Yeah. And then, like I said before, UI cleanup. I hope that you can customize literally everything on that UI. With Xenoblade Cross, you could remove every UI element off of that screen, so that way you're just looking at something gorgeous.
That is excellent.
Yeah, and
nice.
like, it wasn't just like Zelda's mode, which is fine,
Like with Breath of the Wild, you have like a pro mode or whatever the hell they call it, where it removes everything except for your hearts. That way you get like a good, clear picture. With Xenoblade Cross, you could adjust every single element. And I was like, yes, do that. Like, is this a PC game? I need it. You know? So I would love to see that. And then something else that'd be great is side quest cleanup. It's been a while since I played, but I remember some side quests being kind of annoying where I needed to go back to the person and talk to them or something like that, and I didn't know who it was, or there were some things that were unclear, and I can't remember exactly what it was because, you know, it's been years since I played that game. But little things that, you know, say it took 2 steps to do this one thing, now it takes 1 step. Just little quality improvements that speed up the game and make things more efficient would be really helpful.
You don't have to go all the way back to the one person and then go talk to the other person just to finish up. You can finish it just by talking to the one person. Yeah, I know what you're talking about there.
Yeah. Because I remember there were certain points where I was like, man, I don't know what's going on, or maybe I didn't know if somebody was going to give me a quest or not. So I would just go around from time to time and talk to literally everybody in town just to see if they would give me a new quest or something like that. Whatever they did in Xenoblade Cross versus the original game, or Xenoblade 2 versus the original game, was good in that it was really noticeable when you had something new coming up. So, I mean, there's honestly a lot of stuff that they could really do for this huge, expansive game. And that's what makes me so excited about the Definitive Edition. Not just the visuals, which are going to be great.
Well, I'm really hoping we're going to hear more about it before it comes out.
I'm really hoping that you're going to buy the game, you fake gamer.
Yeah, I think I got something else going on at that time, so.
Destiny? Is that what it is? Destiny or Borderlands?
Oh, God, probably.
Yeah, exactly. You're a schloot man. That's what you are. I'm going to call you a schlootman.
I do like my schlooters.
So what's coming up? What's coming out on NintendoEverything.com? We have the super lovely Fairy Tale interview that I did at Tokyo Game Show talking about the creator of Fairy Tale's involvement in the Koei Tecmo game, the battle system, the story, so much more. New details that you haven't even heard about the game before that's not out yet. Check out our website for that. So fun. That game is looking really good. I know next to nothing about that anime series, but when they were showing me that battle system, I was like, ooh, this is me. Ooh, me.
You seemed really excited when you were talking about it before, so I'm excited to see what got you so excited.
For sure. I don't think that I've seen this exact kind of battle system before. I've seen elements of this exact battle system before. So to see them all come together to make this what I feel is like a very fresh battle system, so excited for it. It's not just like a Warriors game.
Very cool. Very cool.
Then we got interview excerpts from Game Freak. I got an impressions article for Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition, which I played at Tokyo Game Show this year. Talked about the crossplay functionality. So much interesting stuff happening there. We got the Atelier Ryza interview that I did at Tokyo Game Show as well coming out, talking about the visual style, the Switch version, the series future, so much more. You can find all that stuff NintendoEverything.com.
If you need a clickbait title for the Crystal Chronicles interview, can you please call it 10 Ways to Not Be a Chalice Bitch?
You know what? That's actually pretty good. But no, my title is aptly titled Impressions, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition. That's what it is. Because you know what?
Nice.
Get that clickbait shit out of here. Get it out of here. We don't need it. Pride ourselves on not doing that clickbait stuff. We just want the title to be informative and make you want to click on it based on, why was Blizzard, not why was, because that sounds terrible, but like say we have a title here that says like Blizzard on why it was late bringing Overwatch to Switch, how it feels great despite the lower frame rate. That's an informative title and it sounds enticing, so you want to hear about it probably. Like not why was Blizzard so late to bringing the Overwatch to the Switch and it's got a lower frame rate, but you'll never guess what the devs think, what the I don't even know. Ugh. So not about it.
No, I think the clickbait title of that would be Blizzard's excuse on why their game is lower quality.
Yeah.
Like, just broad statements, broad assumptions, and just, like, no actual, like, content behind it.
Blizzard says it, quote, feels great, but there's some important features missing from Overwatch Switch.
No, just, here's what you're missing from... like, direct it towards the person and tell them that they should be offended by this.
Here's the top 5 things missing from Overwatch Switch. Number 4 will make you slap your Widowmaker. That's shit. I hate it.
I'm going to use the phrase slap your Widowmaker at least 3 times today.
Yeah, well, I have a feeling that's how often you slap your Widowmaker every day anyway.
Hi-oh.
You can follow us on Twitter at NinEverything and also go to our YouTube, youtube.com/NinEverything. And if for some reason I am an interesting person to you, I can talk to you on my Twitter. It's the @Oni_Dino. And sometimes I upload the pictures on the Instagram. That's @Oni__Dino. And I do Game Married YouTube with my husband playing games. Right now we're playing some spooky games. That's GAYME, Married, on YouTube. Galen, have you seen what spooky games I've been playing?
I've been following your Animusho video series. Wow,
Yeah.
what? I just had a complete brain fart right there.
We're talking Oni Dino cross Oni Musha. That's what this is happening.
And you and I have to have some later discussion about tank controls. So
I love them. I love tank controls.
I know you do, and it's weird to me.
I'm so good at that game too with tank controls. So don't even talk about the tank controls not being good. I love them. Also, episode 2 of Onimusha starts off with a huge rant about Shania Twain and Cliff's incredible fervor about music. Have you watched episode 2 yet? It just came out.
No, not yet.
It came out on Friday. So yeah, check that out. I also put a little blurb in the very beginning that says, hey, in case you don't want to hear about Shania Twain for 6 minutes, skip to this time code, that kind of thing. So just FYI, but
That's
honestly,
hilarious.
You want to hear it. Cliff, some pearls fall out of his mouth. He's pretty great. I love him. That's why I married him.
Are you are you going to be going back to your 5-episode format, or are you sticking to the 3 for a little while longer?
We will be doing the 5 or 6 episode format in the very near future. Not just yet. I've got a lot of things coming up. I wanted to start doing the 5-episode format, this month or next month, but I think it's going to have to be pushed out to December maybe. But December at the absolute latest. It's going to depend. Okay. Got a lot of things coming up in my personal life and my work life, so we'll see.
Fair enough.
So that's Game Married on YouTube. We're also playing Outlast. That's a spooky game.
Yes, that is a very spooky game. And Cliff is struggling very hard with what I've seen of him playing.
I wouldn't say struggling. He's having a bit of a time, but he's doing pretty good.
He's getting the spooks.
He hasn't died.
Granted, the tutorial level, there's nothing you could have done to die yet. So, but
okay,
well, change soon.
I will let him know that you're taking his victories away from him.
Yeah. You know what? It's going to make those victories even more earned.
And Galen, where do you uphold your victories and earns on the internet?
Well, you can see me post those victories on Twitter at Mobius087, and you can follow me on Instagram at true_Mobius.
So that is episode 50. This was controversial and interesting to say the very least. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Wowie, wow.
This was an interesting one.
So please do celebrate our 50th episode by giving us a rating on your podcast platform of choice, particularly iTunes. If you got an iTunes account, please leave us an iTunes account. That helps us so much. What's a funny thing we can say right
now? What does a ghost have when he gets an erection?
What?
A booner. You asked for a funny thing, damn it.
Oh my god. Clearly Galen wants to go slap his Widowmaker, so I think that this is the end of the episode. Stay tuned for next week and for everything Nintendo.
Stay tuned to Nintendo Everything.
Bye.
Later.
壊したい大事そうに抱えた私を全部君がこの孤独を痛みを癒すの消えてしまいたい眠らない街のざわめき愛想笑いの憂鬱本音なんていつかどこか見えないふりだねだって不安なんてそんな言われなくても分かってる壊したい大事そうに抱えた強がりなんてでも素直になれない迷っても悩んでも君が求めるならせめてこの孤独を痛みを壊して生まれ変わりたい青い空は窮屈に上辺だけを映し出すこの